Wi-Fi matters. So today I'm super excited to talk to Everyday Finance Gal. Everyday Finance Gal has been a source of inspiration for me on Instagram. What amazes me is that she took a simple idea and developed a strong community and created a business by using Instagram. Her posts on personal finance are simple, engaging, informative, and funny. I hope you guys enjoy listening to this conversation about how to start a business via Instagram and to grow from 0 to 11K followers in under 9 months. Hi, Everyday Finance Gal. Thank you so much for being on Wi-Fi Matters. I'm super excited to have you here, and I really can't wait to learn more about your adventure and the creative process of making Everyday Finance Gal. So yeah,
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
thank you. So, what was the story behind starting Everyday Finance Gal?
Well, I work in corporate banking and I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. I think that's, for me, it's due to my parents immigrating here when I was 5. So we grew up happy, but materialistically speaking, with very little. So I always had a hustling mindset and trying to have a business when I grew up. So I think with my sister, years ago we had a cake pop business, so I've always wanted to find ways to do more than just my regular day job. So how the page actually started, my coworker who had been working at the bank, I work at a bank, he was working there for 16 years, he got laid off. And as we were talking and we were having coffee, and I thought he'd be so upset, right? But ultimately he said, I'm actually fine because I have rental income. I have rental properties and it's cash flowing. I'm making money from the renters, so I'll be okay. And that kind of made me think my main job is my main source of income. And he urged me, he's like, you should consider, he knew I used to make cake pops. He said, you should do something on the side that you love, and that it could develop into something. And just think about it. It doesn't have to be real estate. As a single mom, that would be challenging. So when I took all that back and I thought, I love math. My daughter's growing up and I didn't have that many sources of financial literacy growing up. And with Instagram and social media platform being so widely available, I thought, what a great way to post stuff that my daughter can view later.
That's great.
So in August of last year, that's kind of how it started. So I thought, okay, this will be a page where I post financial literacy. And my goal was to take big concepts and hopefully make it easy to read and on one page, so that cute graphics that you can just look and understand. And then I post some money motivation and then I also post, so it's kind of 3-pronged. So then I post my wealth journey as well. So I want to say that these concepts are difficult, but I'm doing it too. So wanted to be an encouragement in that way.
And also, so why did you choose Instagram as your main source of, as your main platform, instead of Facebook or other social media platforms?
Yeah, that's a great question, because for me, my personal account that I use more actively is Instagram. So I don't really use Facebook anymore. I have I have a page there, but I'm mostly on Instagram. My peers are on Instagram. I consume a lot on Instagram. So I knew Instagram as a consumer of data. So now to be on the opposite end of it, I think you can tailor it better when you know how you would view that data from the other end.
Yeah, I totally understand how you can relate to your audience, I really, really love your posts. And one thing that stood out for me is how organized it was. And it's also everything you're posting very simple, but obviously super informative and gets the point across. So how do you create this content in a organized manner?
Yeah, it took me a while to figure out what my posting style should be, I think, because in the beginning I just wanted simple posts. But if you look all the way in the beginning of my page, I had a bunch of color, and I realized that the color was distracting my eye. So I always think about the viewer. So now my background is white. So I think having a white background for my page, because I'm not showing my face, I have a lot of words. It's easier to read when there's a white background.
Okay.
And so I organize it visually in that way. And I have a pop of a few colors.
Yeah.
And I like having different topics
Yeah.
because if I think about if somebody is following me for my savings mentality, let's say, um, and I and somebody is following me for the budgeting or the goals or and if I keep posting the same thing, like if I keep posting saving, for example, the people who are following me for the budgeting or the motivation will not find my page useful.
Yeah.
Um, so I think it's having a variety of saying like every third or fourth post is about the same topic, so
Okay.
that the people who are following me for a certain
Mhm.
topic will still continue to be engaged.
And do you find that some of the audience who's there for, like, let's say saving, is now finding your budgeting tips useful?
Yeah, so some of the same themes in savings and budget are the same types of people. I
Mhm.
think where my content differs is once I start talking about my numbers and showing numbers, I realize I have a different audience. And then when I put my memes, I might have
Mhm.
a
Yeah.
different audience. So I think if you're there for my numbers, you'll love the memes because it's kind of generic content.
Mhm.
But I think the numbers are tricky because some people are motivated by it and some people aren't. But for me, having a page like this, I'm trying to balance it being useful for myself
Mhm.
and being useful to others, just like yours, right? And I think it's only when you combine both aspects of it being relevant for you and relevant for others that'll continue to fuel your passion for continuing this
Yeah,
platform, you know?
totally. Yeah, definitely. And I really liked your my monthly goals, like that specific type of post. So could you like expand a little bit more about them?
Sure. I decided to show goals just to add variety.
Mhm.
I share, I make sure to share like a mix of my goals. So I have finance goals, health goals, and spiritual goals, for example. I like to have a mix of goals every month. So for finance, let's say it's a no spend of 15 days
Yeah.
or a side hustle goal.
Mhm.
And I know you had a side hustle podcast too,
Yeah.
which was really good. And then I'll try to do a health goal. So maybe walking 2 times a day.
Mhm.
And then I'll have a spiritual goal, which to let's say reading the Bible with my daughter
Mhm.
for X amount of minutes. So
Okay.
I don't have like a favorite goal, but I
Mhm.
try to make my goals match that SMART acronym, if you've heard
Oh,
about that.
yeah. Yeah,
So it's, yeah, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and
yeah,
time based. So
yeah.
my goals are specific, right? So let's say my no spend goal, it's a specific number of days. So it's no spend for 15 days. It's
Mhm.
measurable because I can track it. Did I have a no spend or no? It's like a yes or no. It's attainable because
Mhm.
um, I'm not saying I'm going to do 30 days of no spend, right? That's not
Yeah,
realistic.
yeah.
And it's relevant for my health, and then time based, it's for the whole month. So I think when your goals are more strategic in that sense, it's easier to meet them.
Yeah, so for your no spend days, so actually like way back, I had an episode about like advertising and I talked about
Hmm.
doing a uh no spend day. So how
Yep.
can my listeners and how can we get a hold of your template?
Yes, I did listen to that episode, and I thought that was a very good suggestion.
Mhm.
And that's what I'm practicing with these no spend templates. I have two sheets that your listeners can access.
Okay.
One is a weekly one, and it's free. It's on my page in the links.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, and one is a monthly one. It's on the page. It's $3. It's for the whole
Oh,
year.
oh, okay.
Um, and they're both easy to use. I actually use them daily. You'll see it in my stories and in my
Mhm.
feed. And I track my progress this way, just again to show that it's possible. And I've learned so much about my spending habits
Mm,
by tracking it. So it's
okay.
a great place to start.
Yeah. So do you feel like by putting out your own personal goals, it engages your audience a little more?
I get a lot of feedback on those goals. Yes. So what I do is, even though it's specific to me, I'll include a blank template to empower people to use that same template.
Oh,
And I think what it helps people see is that your goals could be stretch goals. It doesn't have to be something that you're going to obviously reach,
mhm.
but I get a lot of feedback of, they like how balanced it is.
Mhm.
They like how simple it is, and they like how they're different, right? There's few goals that you track all month, and then there's a few goals that you can do it just in one day, and you're done with that monthly goal. So I have seen a lot of engagement on those.
Also, I really liked the budgeting tips. So could you talk a bit more about those posts?
Yes. So in the budget tips, I realize that what people miss out on explaining to new budgeters is how long things take. So I tried to be very realistic about, hey guys, this is going to take like, maybe it took me 4 hours the first time I ever
Mhm.
looked at a budget.
Oh,
So I talk about setting time aside, like making it like a classroom for you, right? So if you have every Tuesday, Thursday, you have science class, so maybe every Tuesday, Thursday from 4 to 5, that could be your budgeting class. So allocating time to
mhm.
focus only on your budget, as
Oh,
an example. And I have different tips about categorizing,
mhm,
thinking of the big picture first,
mhm.
and then diving deep into, you could say entertainment cost me $100, but then if you dive deeper, you could see, oh, Netflix is
Yeah,
part of it.
yeah,
Oh, certain things are part of it that you can manage later. But a budget seems to be like a taboo word, but it's not. You're just telling your money where it's going to go.
mhm,
So you can budget $600 for entertainment, for example, right? But
mhm,
that's because that's what you choose to spend money on. And if you have the money that you're earning,
mhm.
that's your value, and you can, as long as you track where it goes. Because at the end of the day, you want every dollar to be working for you.
Okay, that's great. I understand. Um, so for me personally, I really like your memes. They're really fun.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think they're informative too. And so, do they get a lot of attention, I'm assuming?
Yes, the memes, they're fun to create and they're fun to relate to different people. I think those are the ones that go, quote unquote viral.
Yeah.
Um, and so I I love puns, and the way this started is
Mhm.
I um I love the money puns. I don't know. I'm trying to now quickly think of which ones I've had in the beginning. And
I
and
like
so I thought, yeah, which one?
I remember one on your post. It's um like this cat who's like trying to get something, and it's like something about a budget, I think, like he didn't fulfill or he didn't stick to his budget, and then he just like falls backward. And
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. So
that was
I saw that GIF,
yeah.
and I was just like, and so those hit me at different types in the month. So if I see that at the end of the month and I've missed my budget, so I did my budget and I miss it, and then
Yeah.
I see a GIF like that, I'm like, man, I feel like this cat right now.
Yeah.
So it's like he's trying to get to the chair, but he falls flat. Like
That
that was me.
was funny.
Um, so that's kind of how it started, and it just evolved. So then I would see like a DJ Khaled. That's one of my other favorite ones, where he's just like looking longingly from the door, like looking away. And I'm like, yeah, that's where my money went, like silly things like that. And I think that relates, everybody can relate to silly things like
Yeah.
that. So,
Yeah. That's great. And also, you have these book summaries.
mhm.
Do you have any good recommendations for teens, for books on finances for teens?
Yes, I have two.
Mhm.
Um, so one is finance and one is business. And I think
Okay.
it's both still relevant. For
Yeah,
the
definitely.
finance one, yeah, it's called Simple Path to Wealth by
Okay.
JL Collins. I write about it a lot on my page. It was maybe it was my second finance book actually, and I read it last year because
Mhm.
um, I kind of got into this game a little late as far as personal finances, but it's very simple to read. He's writing it for his daughter.
Oh,
It's about index funds and investing in index funds. So he calls them boring investment strategy, but it's a long-term strategy where you buy and hold an index of funds, which is a variety of funds in one account.
okay. I see.
And then the second one I'd recommend is the $100 Startup, by Chris. I forget his last name, but it's great for teens because you can build a business for under
Yeah.
$100. And so it has a lot of examples and case studies in there.
Oh,
And even for me, as I was reading it, I'm like, yes, this is possible. Like
mhm.
Instagram is one way you could build a business
Yeah,
for under
yeah.
$100.
It's like
Um,
really inspiring. It gets
yeah, it's
something.
very inspiring and it's attainable.
Okay, I see. That's great. Thanks for sharing that. Also, I really learned a lot from your blog post. So Instagram page statistics from 10K followers. So I'm starting out with my Instagram page,
Hmm.
trying to engage my audience. So How did you engage your community? Because I think it's amazing how you went from like 0 followers to 10K followers in like
Yeah.
9 months. That's just crazy. So how did you like engage your community? Yeah, like tell me more about this.
Yeah, I'm still amazed just thinking about that, because I've never bought any borrowers. I know,
Yeah, no,
borrower. I've never bought any followers.
it's all
Um,
organic.
yeah, it's all organic. I think in the beginning I was testing out like the follow unfollow, but I realized like that's
Mhm.
a lot of work. For me, I think it was knowing my why. Why did I start this page? And it was to capture things that mean a lot to me, motivational quotes, or even things that I've done that I've said to myself that mean a lot to me, and not having any expectation of followers. Because if your why is solid, and my why was having a platform of posts for my daughter
Mhm.
to see. um,
Yeah, it's not like your mission
eh,
is to get like 10K followers. It's you're like
yes, that
I
wasn't my
want
goal.
yeah, I get it.
Yeah, that my goal was different and my why was different. But the more I started to create these posts,
Mhm.
I found the debt free community. And in that community, it's hashtag debt free community.
Oh,
Um, and in that community, I found there were a bunch of people talking about the same things I was talking about.
okay.
And I learned so much from them because somebody was tracking their savings rate. And I was like, oh,
Mhm.
I can track my savings rate. So I put mine up there and I
Mhm.
tagged that person, and
Mhm.
that person saw it and shared it. Um,
Oh.
and then I found somebody was tracking their investments.
Mhm.
So I was like, oh, I know how much I invested in my 401k, which is a retirement account.
Yeah.
Let me track that. So then I tracked it and I tagged them. Then they liked it and they shared it. So it was a way that then that created me a natural way for me to talk to these people, and then in the DMs engaging with them. Um, I think that helped a lot. Is like building a one-on-one relationship with people,
Mhm.
and then tagging each other in posts that aren't
Mhm.
meant to be shared, but it's more of like you're having a one-on-one conversation in
Okay.
your stories. So it's a natural way for people to share.
Mhm.
And then so I think that helped a lot because big pages shared me.
Mhm.
Um, and what happens is anybody can share you, right? And then they see a post, they might come to your page, but you want your page to look good
Mhm.
and represent what you're about when they come, because that's two decision points. The first decision point was clicking on the page to see who wrote this.
Mhm.
The second decision point is when they come to my page and they scroll down, then they have to decide, should I follow this person or not?
Yeah.
So your page has to look
It has to look
and
appealing.
represent, and
Yeah.
not just the look, but it has to represent the content that you want your page to be, so
Okay.
that they could decide to follow you.
Okay.
um Similar to what we were talking about, like you'll see a funny meme, you go on that person's page and you realize that's the only meme they've talked about, so like you don't know what their page is about. So
Mhm.
I wanted my page to look and feel like what I wanted to speak about, so that when
Mhm.
people did share me and they came on my page, hopefully it was appealing to them. The second thing I did was I collaborated with, at that time she had like 4 or 5 thousand followers and I had 1,000. She
Mhm.
came to me and said, "Hey," and this is Tay if she's listening. She came and said, "Hey, I've done this post. I really like the way you design, but my post is just a little all over the place. Like, can you help make this easier to read?" So I collaborated with her on how to read investing, and again, because we collaborated, we shared it to a bigger audience together.
Okay.
So
That's
that helped me grow.
mhm.
And then lastly, I just did a webinar recently about a career topic, and that was also a big way too. But
Mhm.
ultimately, it comes down to you consistently putting out information
Mhm.
and speaking to the people who comment, the people who DM, and building a
Mhm.
relationship with them.
Okay.
um, and then you'll post something that you didn't even spend much time on, and it'll go viral, and then people
Mhm.
come to your page, and
Mhm.
then they'll make a decision if they want to follow you or not.
Okay.
So those are the things that have helped
Mhm.
me.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, so how did you get like a really good follower list, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, and that's always the biggest challenge, because you can grow the number, but if you don't grow the engagement,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
it right? Because if I eventually I'm working on a webinar now and a course for growing
Mm,
Instagram, for example, right? But
mm,
if I haven't built the right, even if I have 100,000 followers, if
yeah,
they're not there because of the information that I
mm,
intend for them to be there and for them to potentially purchase, it doesn't matter how many
mhm,
followers I have. So you can have 1,000 followers and have a nice community. So
mhm,
it's hard because the numbers are there and everybody focuses on follower count, but you really want an engaged community, which is your question.
mhm.
And I think it just depends on the niche you're in. And
Oh,
I would say in our niche, the debt free community, fire community, investing community, everyone is so supportive. My sister has a blog and hers is in like the food space
oh,
and
cool.
lifestyle space. Yeah. And sometimes I'll share with her the things that are working for me. And she's like, those things might not work for me. Like
Oh,
my community is different, so you have to know your community. And what
mhm,
I found in the debt free community is that everyone is so supportive.
mhm,
We're all, it's like we're all working on our own for the same type of goal, which is financial independence.
mm,
And we're all showing each other ways that we're doing it. So
okay.
whether it's like tracking 401ks, and I think that's what helps. I think it's innately in this community, it exists where we're all intertwined.
Mhm,
um, but knowing each follower and responding to all the DMs that I get,
yeah,
um, I think that's a good way. And then all the comments, engaging in the comments.
okay.
And I think as the person who comments on other people's pages, you feel listened to, right? Like
Yeah,
you feel like this person actually read your message and is
thoughtful. Yeah.
responding, and it creates a connection.
Okay, I see. That definitely now makes sense. Um, Thank you so much for that. Um, so right now, I think you have around 354 posts. So which one has the most likes and why?
um, so the one with the most likes is this post in November.
Mhm,
Um, so that's me 3 months into the page,
mhm.
and that's when I first started this whole no spend thing, where I realized after this page that I'm spending a lot of money on eating out, coffee, and shopping.
Mhm.
So I thought, okay, I need to have a no spend month. And you know how they do no shave November?
Yeah,
So for prostate cancer, I think it is. And so I did a no spend November.
that's so
And
cool.
so in that month, and then I saw these shoes, like these, I was on some Nordstrom website and I saw something I really liked,
Uh-oh.
and I couldn't get it because I had just publicly told my, small group of people that I'm doing a no spend November.
Yeah.
And so my most popular meme and post is that cute little girl who's like hugging against the mannequin.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah, have you seen that one?
Yeah.
And I wrote, I don't know how I wrote it, but it was like, when you see
I
some shoes you love, but you just proclaimed like a no spend to your
yeah.
community or something. Um, and then a lot of the other ones that get a lot of attention are the ones where it's like a listicle. So I'll say 7 things I'm doing in a market pullback. So things that are about me, about what I'm investing in, and what has worked for me as a single mom. I think those get the most attention as well.
Okay.
Um, and some of the investing and budgeting ones also get a lot of attention.
Okay.
So it's a mixed bag, I'd say,
Mhm.
and that's why I've kept it so broad. I share financial literacy tips, yeah,
Mhm.
money motivation, and my own journey. So I think those three kind of are the pillars.
Okay. And so, what are some, I know Instagram, like, there's a lot of like behind the scenes like terms. So what are some important Instagram terms that we should all be aware of? I know one of them, like impression, but honestly for me, they're all like so confusing a little bit. So yeah.
Yeah. So in Instagram, if you go into your main page on the top right, the third item down says insights,
Mm,
and it gives you the three broad sections: content, activity, audience.
mm,
So if you click on the content, there are
mhm.
maybe 15 things that it tracks. But what I would recommend is just pick two and go from there. So for me, the two that I always look at is reach, which is the same thing as impressions. It just means how many eyes saw your post. So it doesn't, they could be followers, not followers. Somebody could have shared it and they could have seen it. So
Mhm.
I always look at that because I want to know. That's how I know if something went, viral. Is if it gets a bigger reach than the number of followers I have. So that shoe, my meme, it says me when I see a pair of shoes I like, but I already announced a no spend November to the debt free community.
Yeah.
That had 62.8 thousand impressions,
Wow.
or they call it a reach as well. So it's
Mhm.
actually impressions is 69,000. So there
Mhm.
must be a difference in it, but I just keep the reach.
Yeah, I see.
Um, so it varies. Um, so that's one I look at. And then another important one is follows. So I look at the posts that created people to follow me.
Mm.
And when I look at those, I see the one where I talk about how I spent my paycheck. That post
Okay.
caused or compelled 85 people to follow me.
Oh, okay.
That listicle post caused 79 people to follow me. That no spend post where I put my month,
Mhm.
72 people. So you want to find the the insights that mean more to you. So for me, it's what do they see to cause me to follow me, and how many people total have seen this. And there are other things. It looks like comments. It looks at how many people clicked my email, how many people liked my post, how many people shared my post. That's another thing you could look at. So my most shared post um, is so that 7 things I'm doing was shared 235 times.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
So
like
you,
yeah, I didn't know about I've always I've pressed the insights bar thing before, but I didn't know what all of this means. So thank you for this. Yeah.
yeah, and then you can go into your activity, which is the
Yeah.
second tab,
Mhm.
and you've probably seen that where it breaks down how many impressions you get or
Yeah.
interactions
How
throughout
many
the day.
accounts you've reached or something?
Yeah, and then the audience is another good one, where you can see the gender,
Oh,
this
yeah.
gender split of your followers, and that's another obvious one. But I think that the first one I mentioned, the content when you look through the different, when you dive deeper, those are pretty insightful. And again, it changes based on
Mhm.
what you're looking for.
Okay.
So for you, you might want to look at your links. How many people clicked on your link, right?
Yeah.
Because your goal is to get people out of Instagram
And
onto, let's say, Spotify.
yeah.
So you want to see which post that you created compelled the most people to click on your link and
Mhm.
leave Instagram.
Okay.
That's powerful for you, I think.
Yeah, thank you so much. Um, like you're saying, so you look at these specific statistics and then do you like create your content from there?
So let's say you have a big guest like coming up,
Mhm.
or maybe it's me. I don't know. No, I'm kidding. But so let's say you have some. So you use that data. I'm such a numbers person. Like use that data to see what types of posts are good, and a day or two before that big announcement, start to post that type of information
Okay.
to reach the most people, so that on your important post you
Yeah.
have all those eyes on it.
Um, um, so how did who's like the biggest so you have a big community, so who's your biggest cheerleader? Who's your biggest supporter?
Yeah, that's definitely my sister. She's the first person that knew
Oh,
about this page. Um,
was she the first
and
person who followed you?
I think she's the first person that followed me. Yeah, I have to check, but I'm pretty sure she's the first person that followed me.
Yeah.
Um, and it's one of those things that you can take advice from people who've been there. And I
Mhm.
used to try to help her a lot with her social media too, but
Mhm.
some of the advice I would give her would not be the right advice because I
Yeah.
didn't have a platform. I didn't understand and appreciate the detail. I was just a consumer of data at that point. So I was like, oh, you should do this, you should do that. And now that I have this page,
Mhm.
I realize and take more to heart the advice from people who have pages. So my sister has been the biggest supporter and confidant and
Mhm.
advisor
Yeah.
in some sense.
Mhm.
um,
Yeah. So how do you contribute back to this community?
so a lot of it is free information.
Mhm.
So as it relates to the online community, there's always a lot of DMs that come through, and that part has led me to help a lot of people, but to
Yeah.
also create a more formal way of having a coaching setup. So I'll have a
Yeah.
discovery call where We try to figure out if I'm the right person to help them with their career or money questions. So free information is one way. I'm trying to set up workshops at my daughter's school
Oh, cool.
um, to have financial literacy in her fifth grade
Yeah,
class,
that's
and
great. Start
hopefully for
that.
the
Yeah,
entire school.
that's great.
That's yeah. And then moving on to high school level too. I live right by high school. It's the high school I went to. Like that's a next
Oh,
goal. Like it's a free workshop to give back to the community. So
that's amazing.
online, I do it in certain ways, and then in
Mhm.
real life, I'm trying to make an impact as
Yeah.
well.
So, as an entrepreneur, what was the biggest challenge you've had along this like 8 to 9 month journey? And
Yeah.
also, what have you been most proud of?
hmm Um, the biggest challenge is the natural challenges for me of having a full-time plus job. I work at a corporate bank, so it's a very demanding job. I'm a single mom.
Mhm,
I live with my daughter, so
mhm.
100% caregiver as well.
Yeah.
And so the challenges that come with being a mom.
Mhm.
And I think it's the juggling of all of this that make it very challenging, right?
Yeah.
And I think what makes it work, um, I wrote a I wrote something before where I said, you can teach skills, but you can't teach passion. And I
Mhm.
think it's because I love my daughter so much. I take my role as a mom seriously.
Yeah.
I'm proud of my work accomplishments, so I take my job at work seriously. And
Yeah.
I actually love this online platform,
Yeah.
and I'm in like really having fun with it too. So that passion for all those things make it easy for me to be consistent
Yeah.
in my own
You
way.
can, yeah, you can push through and yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's been the biggest challenge, and I'm really proud of that. It's a big accomplishment. Um,
It
I
is.
had yeah, I had a webinar that with Shung from Save My Sense, and she only had room for 100 people. 300 people registered.
Wow.
So things like that, I'm like, wow, this is really helping people, and seeing people's responses in the DMs and in
Yeah.
the comments, like they're real impacts that are being
Mhm.
made by us, by you and me,
Yeah.
right? So it's like being proud of that and celebrating that.
Yeah. That's fantastic. I love that. So if if you could go back to your 15-year-old self, what financial advice would you have for her?
Mhm. Yeah. My 15-year-old self was a math tutor for their calculus class. So I
Wow.
would tell her, and I was really good at saving money. So I would
Okay.
make money, save money, be very careful with how I spent money. But I
Mhm.
would tell her, hey, open a Roth IRA. Put that money, and
Yeah.
what a Roth IRA is, it's an account that you put in after tax dollars.
Yeah.
So you get your paycheck, you put money in there. You can put up to 6,000 this year and every year. It
Mhm.
changes a bit every year.
Mhm.
And when you retire, when you're 59 and a half and older, you can withdraw those funds tax free. So the
Mhm.
money you put in doesn't get taxed and the growth doesn't
Yeah.
get taxed.
Mhm.
So I would tell her, and what I would tell my daughter and tell you is look into the benefits of that.
Okay.
There are different types of retirement accounts, IRAs,
Mhm.
but the Roth is a really powerful one because it's after tax.
Okay.
So that's what I would tell myself.
That's great. How can my listeners get a hold of you and support you?
I'm on Instagram at Everyday Finance Gal. Um, and I have a website, everydayfinancegal.com as well. But Instagram is my hub.
Mhm.
I'm available in the DMs. If you listen to this, tag me in your story and I'll share it, right? And we can connect that way. But yes, and
Thank
my
you.
links have more info if you need it. Thank you so much.
This was amazing. I loved everything you said. It was really, really helpful for me. So yeah. Like no, but I never thought of like, oh, Instagram could be a source of my business. Like I never really thought of
hmm
that before, but now I realize it can be it's a business, you know? Um,
Not that it can be, it will be,
there will
because you'll find that the way we walk in a mall and see a store and we walk into the store
be
and then we see another store, people are going to be on Instagram
like
looking.
that. No, yeah. So that was amazing. It was a great coaching experience.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It was an honor to be part of your podcast. And I'm looking forward to one day looking back and saying, do you remember that day that we spoke? Can you believe how far we've both come?
Yeah.
And I look forward to celebrating with you that day.
So that's the end of the interview. I learned a lot, and I hope you guys did too. The interview was full of important advice and information. I love how Everyday Finance Gal has built a very strong community which has helped her grow her Instagram following and eventually her business organically. I now understand the importance of creating meaningful content that's true to your mission and building a community and not to focus on the number of followers, and also using the Insights tab on Instagram as a way to create meaningful content. So, on that note, I want to thank each of you for supporting Wi-Fi Matters and listening to my podcast. Also, a big thank you if you're already following us on Instagram. If not, please follow us at Wi-Fi Matters and leave a comment on my conversation with Everyday Finance Gal. Also, while you're there, go check out our new Voices post by Haneen. She's an 18-year-old from Kerala, India, and she's a writer at Spilling Stardust. And she's presenting her unique perspective on money by telling us a creative, thought-provoking story. You can also access this Voices post on our website at www.wifimatters.com. Thank you so much and have a great Memorial Day weekend.